You know, service projects are the fundamental way Rotarians can demonstrate the motto that you heard Mr. Lancia talking about, service above self. And it's also the way that Rotarians can be the change in their communities. And you've often heard this, I'm sure, a way to demonstrate leadership and contributing your time, talent, and treasure, the 3 T's. Rotarians don't just see a need, they use their skills and their expertise to meet it. So we now have a group of club leaders whose clubs are doing some amazing projects to make their respective communities better. Would you please help us welcome now to the panel discussion Ms. Debbie Davis, who is the president of the Rotary Club of Wynne. Also, Michelle Blasengame, the president of the Rotary Club of Stuttgart. And a point of personal privilege, because I just love this guy, he's awesome, Mr. Hank Kelley, the president of the Rotary Club of Little Rock. Good afternoon to all of you wonderful Rotarians. Let's just go down the list very quickly and share a little bit about your projects, and then we're going to turn it over to Hatton for Q&A. Debbie, let's start with you, followed by Michelle, and then Hank.
Okay, we had our meeting the other day for the first time in a long time, and I shared some of the projects that we've had this year. And when you read it all together, it is shocking how much you can accomplish in a year. But some of our projects have been the back to school project, where we actually fill the backpacks for the students with all their supplies throughout the year that they'll need in school. We helped with putting on the Ridges golf tournament for the downtown of Wynne. We had a polio piggy bank thing that we had piggy banks on everybody's tables to put their pocket change in the month of October. We have given 100 turkeys and cake mixes and frosting to all of the area food banks for their Christmas holiday. So every 100 families anyway had a good holiday meal for Christmas. We support the Boys to Girls clubs in Wynne. We have a charter of the Boy Scout Troop number 18 that our Rotary Club chartered it. And I just signed a paper for them the other day that we would continue our support with that. We always have a girls softball team that we sponsor. We have a program called 363 that we help fill the backpacks that they carry home from school every weekend, so that they will have needs that the kids can have food, supplies, shampoos. We keep our little toiletries that we get at hotels, and we send those home. So we support that. Our biggest thing that we've done this year also are we have given a $500 to the literacy program at Wynne High School. This will help them to replenish their book supply in whatever way they need. And they start with preschool up through 8th grade. And our latest project is our gazebo, and I'm very proud of that gazebo. It's out at the pond area on the sports complex. And I drive out sometimes at lunch just to watch people sitting in it in the shade while their families are fishing. The soccer games go on nearby. And, you know, if they're out there, they have a place to get in out of the shade, out of the sun, and just enjoy their time. It's a beautiful park, and it's a beautiful gazebo. I'm really proud of that. And our entire club has helped with these projects. I've really had a lot of help this year, and I'm real proud of them.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that exciting news. And that is indeed an impressive gazebo. You might get some questions about support in other areas because of that phenomenal work you've done there. Thank you so much, Debbie. Let's check in now with Michelle Blasengame from Stuttgart. Michelle?
Hey, Pam, how are you? The Stuttgart Rotary Club is all about our community. This year, we've given roughly a little over $15,000 in local scholarships for seniors. We've donated over $25,000 for different projects and events that were going on throughout the year. The things that we're most proud about is our COVID-19 service projects. we realized back in March when we could no longer meet for our meetings that did not mean that we could not continue to serve our community. So what we did is when the COVID-19 started and they started needing to do testing and screening at our local hospital, we helped them set up a drive-through service where we actually manned the drive-through 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday for 4 weeks, so that people could have access to health care and the COVID-19 testing. We also, through connections of Rotary Club members, we procured about 30,000 masks to give to our Baptist Health System, Baptist Health of Stuttgart. We also provided gloves and masks for our local nursing home. We also had teams of Rotarians that had certain people in town that were at risk and could not get out. They did their grocery shopping for them. They delivered their drugs to them from their pharmacy. Anything that they needed, the Rotarians were there to help them. We also fed all of our healthcare workers. We fed all of the employees at the hospital here in Stuttgart. We also, everyone at our medical clinic and everyone at our nursing home. So we're proud about that. We're continuing to support our community through this crisis by being there and letting them know we're there for them. And we're excited to get back to seeing each other face to face. But we know for a fact that our club has been out there and our community sees us every day. And that's what's the most important to us.
Thank you, Michelle. Way to pivot to meet the needs of your community in a very tangible way. So we appreciate hearing more about your efforts in Stuttgart. Well, this gentleman I've had the pleasure of working with personally and love the mask, by the way. I've had the pleasure of working with personally through all of the collective efforts of the Rotarians in the Little Rock area. And I will not steal his thunder. So we'll let you share more about that great work, Mr. Hank Kelley.
Thank you, Pam. Really appreciate that introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure to be the president of Rotary Club 99 this year. We had worked for a year before my tenure to get a signature project lined up, and it was to adopt a Dunbar Middle School, and we named that project Dunbar Middle School Bobcats Thrive, because they are the Bobcats. And Thrive stands for Teachers, Helpers, Rotarians, Interact for Victory of Every Student. We established a one-on-one mentoring program with the Dunbar students. We trained through working with Pam and the Little Rock School District, 60 of our members to be one-on-one mentors, and we went through a training program called Volunteers in Public Schools. We started off by hosting a Dunbar Middle School teacher and administration reception to let the teachers and the administrators know we really cared about them. We engaged an Interact club that we had already set up at Catholic High to be mentors to the Dunbar students, and they were older students than our middle school Dunbar students. And so it worked out really good. The Catholic High students came in and offered a hand to help get that set up. We then directly engaged our 99 members. The project you just saw was to scrape, paint, prepare the lockers on the ground floor of Dunbar to show the Dunbar students that we were in their school and cared about them. We contracted with a professional painting company so that they wouldn't be peeling 2 weeks after we painted them, but we did the prep work and got it set up for them. We also did something a little different for the students through some relationships we had with First Tee Golf. We thought there might be some great life skills through the First Tee program, and for any of you Rotarians that are out there that are looking for a great program where the kids have fun and still teach core values of treating people courteously, and the rules of golf were instilled in the students that took that. We brought our Rotarians in that are skilled in financial matters, literacy. They taught literacy classes, stock market classes, cooking classes, and nutritional classes. We set up a cookout for the Dunbar Middle School football game and took the proceeds of that cookout and helped fund a band trip to New Orleans. That was a lot of fun as we fed the football players after their game. And let me tell you, they can eat some hamburgers. We donated, as I said, those funds to help the band not only acquire some instruments, and we collected instruments from our different members that had instruments in their closets that were perfectly good but not being used. And then we counseled with the teachers and the administrators on how to better connect with our business community. The slides that you're seeing now is another project we worked on, which was a day camp that Little Rock School District Superintendent Mike Poore came to us and said, would you guys add some fun and flavor to a day camp? The Little Rock School District wants to set up a daycare camp for the workers at UAMS that are fighting the pandemic. And as you can see, our members embraced that idea and had a blast. They dressed up in uniforms, and the kids that came in at first were a little reluctant about what they were doing. And when they saw our Rotarians with their big smiles and their funny costumes, it eased their angst, and we made a good connection there. Finally, we worked really hard with the Clinton Foundation. One of our members, Stephanie Street, is the head of the Clinton Foundation, and she invited us to get involved with a program of Feed the Students. And the mission was to feed the students that weren't going to school because they weren't getting their normal meals. You see there our Rotarian Mayor Frank Scott on the assembly line working, pitching in, hand in hand. Ellen Cockrell of our club spent endless hours coordinating and providing essentially a logistical hub for the Feed the Kids program by talking to drivers on where they needed to go. And Ellen loved the interaction with the different members. Some of the testimonials we've gotten from our members were just thanks for creating projects where we could get involved in the community. We've gotten more out of those projects than we've given, and we want to do more. Pam, thanks again very much for giving us the opportunity to showcase these projects. We're just happy to be of service to the community. Thank you.
Well, and thank you and all Rotarians for what you do. And you were able to put together these projects. And I want to ask you the same question to each of you, because I feel like it's important, and we might learn something. Through the pandemic, it presented a lot of challenges, right, that we weren't able to do. And Debbie, you talked about the Backpack for Kids program, and the literacy and the gazebo, the sports complex, which is a great addition to a fantastic facility on top of that. But how were you able to overcome some of the challenges of logistics in a pandemic to get some of these things done?
Well, thank goodness we started early so that things were already in motion, to get the gazebo built. And it was a little bit of a delay because the man that was building it was in northern Illinois and he wasn't traveling. Wow. And, nobody was. So we had to kind of wait till everything lifted a little bit before he could bring it down here. But he did, and everything just kind of fell into place. We had to do some things a little different. Rather than presenting things in person to the entire school group, we had to present it to the literacy coach, and we just worked through it. But we're finally getting to start back a little bit, slowly but surely, as a group.
Absolutely. And Michelle, your organization there, you transitioned, saw a need in the community during this pandemic, and you were able to not only feed the medical workers that are there, but you manned clinics, 30,000 masks for the local hospital. That's amazing. Walk me through some of the challenges that you had to work through to be able to pull some of that off.
Well, just like anyone else, when we stopped meeting, we felt a need to make sure that our community knew that we were still out there and we were still serving them and we were still there to help. And so we text each other, we emailed, and the Stuttgart Rotarians were incredibly gracious with their personal time to come and help us. I mean, 8 hours a day for 4 weeks is a long time. And they gave up time from their families and their jobs and things that they were doing. And it was important. It was important that our community saw that we were still out, that we were still supporting them. As far as coordinating the efforts, a lot of our Rotarians, our fellow Rotarians, work for the hospital administrators, work for nursing homes, work for several companies here in Stuttgart, one in particular, the Fortune 500, that is a Fortune 500 company, so that we had those connections. And we made sure that we used our connections to do what our community needed and what they were asking for. And we asked our community, what is it that you need? And they were clear. And when they told us what we needed, then we sat down and said, then this is what we can do. This is what we can tackle. The Rotarians just started calling in and emailing, and it all worked out. It's what we do.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. Find the need and go attack it. And, Hank in Little Rock with Dunbar Middle School Project, and the mentoring program that you had, and a one-on-one relationship that Rotarians were able to build with the students at Dunbar Middle School. Obviously, with not being able to meet in class, that changed things. Were Rotarians able to connect one-on-one with the students after the quarantine started?
Hatton, I would admit to you, it's been more difficult not being able to physically go to the school. And one of the things through our training at the Volunteers in Public Schools that we learned is that we needed to be respectful of the student and their parents' private space and not just assume this was our child. I have 9 grandchildren, so it's pretty easy for me to add a mentee into my life with that sort of engagement that I have with my grandchildren. Some of our members wanted to know, how do I start? How do I form a bond with this student who doesn't think the same way I think from an age standpoint, but also the demographics are different. 92% of our students that we engaged with were part of a school lunch program. And so we felt connected to that school as if we could open some doors for those students if we could just engage and get to know them. And as we brought students to our Rotary Club and they saw that we had smiling faces and we patted them on the back when we could do that, and we shook their hands back when we could do that, and gave them honors and awards for good grades, we did that to show them that we cared about them. It has suffered because we can't physically be together, but individually, some of those mentor-mentee relationships have continued on, and we've stayed in touch. We will re-engage as soon as we can physically do that, and the administration at Dunbar has given us wide open arms to say, please keep doing this for more than 1 year. And our club made a 5-year commitment to this program, that it was not going to be a 1 year and only, because we know those relationships build on itself and on each other. And so, on the other hand, the Feed the Students program, we won't claim credit for that program, but our Rotarian in charge has been leading it, and they fed over 500,000 meals since they started that program. And Rotarian Ellen Cockrell has been right in the middle of all that with Rotarian Stephanie Street, along with AmeriCorps and a lot of other people that President Clinton recently honored in a outreach program to them to thank them for hitting that milestone of providing 500,000 meals. And we're just a small part of it, but we think we helped, and when asked to serve, we served, and we came in for that.
Well, Hank, Debbie, Michelle, you're all doing fantastic work across the district, and thank you for what you do, and stay healthy and safe.